Okay, call the meeting to order with a salute to the flag, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll get started this evening with our approval of prior town board minutes. We have the first set with the public hearing held on May 6th. Any comments, questions, corrections to add to these?
Well, I got a comment, but I saw no problem with them. But I looked at that. We approved that resolution for the fill permit. I probably, if I had done it again, I wouldn't have voted for it the way it's set. Just for the record, I believe 50 yards is really, when I started thinking about it, it's really a small amount of fill. What we're doing is requiring more and more bureaucratic process for a lot more fees and overhead. It's not unlike, it's not unreasonable that anybody has a septic fill repair that 500 to 1,000 yards could be incurred. So, I mean, if I had done it again, I probably would have made the suggestion that we would have upped that from 50 yards to 500, which seems a lot more reasonable to me. I know that there was a problem with the zoning, and we do have to regulate the fill because look at what happened with the pneumonia thing. I mean, and this would definitely be a deterrent on that fact, but I think 50 yards, in my opinion, it's not very much fill. You dump 50 yards, you hit a bulldozer on it, and it's not very much at all. So I mean, just for the record, that's my take on it. You have to put a lot of thought into it.
Well, first of all, it's not putting in more bureaucracy and fees, because in fact, without that law, if you want to bring a wheelbarrow full in,
Well, I understand.
you had to go
Yes,
to the zoning board
absolutely.
and get a special permit,
Which we didn't know about.
which is a bigger fee.
Yes, I understand that. But I just, every time somebody wants to get a load of fill, 3 or 4 loads, that's that's over 50 cubic yards, they're gonna want to have them go to the building inspector for a permit, get a fee, and is John really gonna come out and check something that minuscule? I mean, I really don't think so. But, I mean, it's just my take on it, for what it's worth, and I think I voted wrongly in that particular instance, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Okay. Any changes to the minutes that we want to make on this? Everything's comfortable the way the minutes are? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes?
So,
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next set is the town board meeting from May 6th. Again, any questions, comments, corrections? Motion to approve.
so,
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I'm going to ask Andy. We have Andy here this evening, the town attorney. Came down, I asked him to come down tonight for a couple of reasons. We have a local law that he put together for us for the highway specs. We did not have a public hearing this month. We did not get the notice in time. So we're going to notify of our public hearing for next month's meeting. We'll hold July 1st, I believe is the first. That's the first. July 1st at 6:45, we'll have a public hearing on the highway specs, and we do have the copy on hand, and thank you, Andy, for bringing that down. So it's available to the public for review at a time.
just for information, Ray, the only change at this point to that spec is the word "not" being inserted in the last sentence of section 8.22.
Correct. One word change on the policy and the local law, so.
It appears that it was just an oversight way back when the highway specs were adopted, because, if you look at other towns, it seems pretty clear that if someone's doing work on their property, they would be the one that would be responsible for any drainage issues that are associated with their own, excavation work. So that's all you're really doing, is just making it consistent.
So we're just correcting what should have been in the first place. Very good. Thank you, Andy. Second issue, I wanted Andy to come down to give a little insight on last month's meeting. We had brought to our attention that we passed a resolution as a board to fix the assessor's overpayment issue. We held a discussion on this. We passed a resolution amending the amount the assessor was paid, and it was brought up in public comment that it was an illegal action by the board. So as soon as it was mentioned to be illegal action, I wanted to get the attorney's opinion on this, have him get involved and take a quick look at it to see what we need to do to make sure this is exactly what we need, what we do need to do. So Andy, I just want you to fill everybody in real quick on that.
Sure. Yeah, Ray alerted me to, the discussion that occurred last month. And so I've taken a look at it, and, certainly towns across the state have, where these situations have occurred, they have a few options that are available to them. One would be to require repayment, notwithstanding the fact that it may have been, an error by either, a professional for the town or the town board itself in some way, shape, or form and somehow missing it. It's my understanding that, the sum that was involved for the past year was around $500. And, depending on ultimately the way that the board proceeds, it may be something close to that for this coming year. There are a couple of ways the board can take action, okay? Any legislative action by the board is typically done by resolution or by local law. And I think that's really the question that we need to look at here, vis-a-vis making budget amendments for the prior year, prior to the completion, as I understand it, of the AUD report, and for this year. And there does seem to be authority out there that suggests that a local law would be an appropriate way to make such a change. However, the fact that the board brought this up at an open meeting, had a discussion about it, and in a very transparent way passed a resolution, as you have done on numerous other occasions for other budget amendments, I think leads me to at least offer the recommendation that you have me reach out to the Office of the New York State Comptroller. They offer advisory opinions all the time on issues just like this one. And really what they're looking to do is they are a resource in a circumstance such as this to provide you guidance on what would they deem to be a best practice. And so what that process is town attorneys across the state of New York simply write to the council's office and say, this is the issue that we have. We're reaching out to you for guidance so that we can have your direction. And that can be answered in a couple of ways. They can decide that it is an issue, I wouldn't say of statewide importance, but it's of an issue that maybe is somewhat unique or novel or new, that they may actually prepare a formal opinion that they would provide you to say, here is guidance. And again, it's not binding, but when they speak, you like to listen. Or conversely, they may write us back and say, you know what, we decided, we issued a decision under similar facts in 1965 or in 1972 under opinion 72-15, and we refer you to that, and we feel that today, as a department, that still is current recommended guidelines. And so that would be my recommendation, that you simply reach out to them and say, this is the circumstance that we have. We did take formal board action. Our question is based upon the timing of the action that we took and based upon the sum of money involved. Should we revisit this in a different manner?
Okay, well, I think we should do that because obviously the board has acted, thought we've done this correctly and what we need to do. So certainly I would like to have you get involved, send a quick letter, please, and request their opinion. And if it's not correct, then let us know what we need to do to make it correct. Sure.
Is it possible that they would come back and say, there's two correct ways of doing it, we would recommend A rather than B, and we did B, but B is still okay?
They could do that. They could come back and say, the preferred method to do this would be A. should you have this situation arise again, you should do B. They could come back and say, under the circumstances, you need to do B, and you should revisit this and act accordingly. I think the important thing is, regardless of what that answer is relative to proceeding under a local law or a resolution, I think the important thing for the board is that as soon as the issue is identified to you, you discussed it here at an open meeting and took formal board action. It's really the characterization of that action, should it be a resolution or a local law, that I'd like to ask the comptroller for their opinion on.
And are they gonna wonder why we're asking after the fact instead of before the fact? Is that?
No, certainly. No, I think, those issues occur all the time. I mean, that's part of the democratic process and political process, whereby you take input from fellow board members, from members of the public, and from others. But this series of advisory opinions that they've been issuing, I don't know how far back it goes, but it goes back, well into the, 40s and before. So, this is something that they systematically do. And in terms of not asking them that, and simply waiting for, a comptroller's audit down the road, it would be, my thought that something such as this would be something that if they were to audit it and weren't pleased, it'd be something that they would just recommend corrective action on for the future. So to the extent you're being proactive, on this issue, I think it's the most prudent way to handle it. From discussing it here to once there was a question raised, reaching out to them. And then it really takes the ultimate decision-making process, out of the local municipality, and it resides it with the state agency that's in charge of monitoring and overseeing governmental operations. So at the end of the day, you have a very clear answer. And it's not that, I couldn't give you an answer, but you've taken the action. I think it's not going to be difficult for them to respond, so why not just have real clear clarity on the issue from the agency that's involved.
Ray, do you need a motion to do that, or?
I don't think so. I mean, we'll just, if you could just please put that together and send it out to them, and when we get that back, we'll certainly address what the response is.
Okay.
All right?
Good.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything else for you tonight. Does anybody on the board have anything for Randy?
No.
Anybody from the public have anything they'd like to ask the town attorney before he leaves?
Why couldn't you just ask for the money back?
You certainly can. The board took that up last month and made the determination under the circumstances before it that they didn't want to do that. So, that's a call for the board to make. You certainly, have that choice, and you decided to do what you did do via the resolution.
Just to add to that, I mean, we discussed this, and due to the amount of the overpayment, the board collectively discussed this issue and felt that the amount of money that the assessor is saving us by doing the reval, and did a reval 4 years ago, is doing another one now, rather than having to farm that out and pay tens of thousands of dollars to a company, far outweighs the $500 overpayment that was made. And his salary certainly could be justified for that extra $500. He's the smallest paid assessor in the county, and we felt that it was probably not enough compensation for what he's done for us, and that's why we didn't really go down the avenue of requesting it back. So.
But I don't think it had anything to do with the amount of money. I think it had to do with the legality of,
That's correct. That's correct.
so that, and I agree that, looking at the controller, having them come down and say, now, if they come down and say, well, the best practice is for you to do, to collect the money back, however you decide to do that. What if the board decides not to do that? I mean, do they have to abide by whatever decision the state controller?
That's a really good question. In instances where this occurred, it's funny, there's a lot of discussion about how far a board can actually go. Some boards, when they've identified it, have taken the step to try to do salary deductions, where they, on their own, said, we're just going to take it out of your check. And all of a sudden then, a different agency of the state, the Department of Labor, comes in and says, that's an unlawful wage deduction, so we don't want you doing that. And so, the resources that I saw, it seemed to suggest that there was a level of discretion with regard to how aggressively a municipality could or would have to seek to recoup those monies. Certainly the amount of money that's involved is relevant. You know, the resources that would be required to secure it, the return of the money, things like that. But I think, you know, that may be something that the board needs to entertain. And that's why I'd like to go step A to B to C, because, you know, if they come back and say, okay, based upon the timing of this, based upon the amount involved, your resolution was, you know, maybe, you know, was best practice, or, you know, could have been done a little bit differently. There's two ways they could say that. That would be one thing. They could come back and say, under the circumstances, we hereby recommend and advise that you should request that the money come back. And if we have that clarity, then the board can act clearly. And it's, you know, it's from the agency that would be ultimately the one overseeing it. And I think it's important in terms of the public trust to have that transparency, which really was the same transparency that the board exercised when they brought it up. I think it was at the April meeting, and then had a vote on it. And so, you know, if the comptroller comes back and says, well, you can do this, but you have to do it by local law, then what would occur would be a discussion amongst the board, a proposal or a motion, and then a vote in the affirmative or in the negative, which, if you think about it, is, as I understand it, relatively close to what previously occurred. So, I mean, that's what we're looking for from them, so that there's no question about that.
I think, you know, obviously I'd like to have you send that letter, but I don't want to go too much farther with this issue, because, you know, I don't want to spend as much as we paid on attorney fees as well. I mean, this is as far as I'm concerned, is satisfactory to the board. I hope the public understands what we did. We made it as clear as possible. And we certainly don't want to spend any more money than possible we have to on this issue. So, but I do want you to send that letter, and then we'll address it from that point forward.
And just for the record, because we are on television, I think the amount of time I did spend on it for the citizens of Clermont, I didn't spend 10 hours looking at this, okay? I think it may have been an hour's worth of time looking at different resources and recommending the board. And certainly, because that would be a legitimate question. Oh, how much are we going to spend out? Well, you know, with the board's direction, we're now going to write a straightforward letter and hopefully get a very prompt answer. And I think that'll be good, because it'll really put the matter to bed, one way or the other.
Very good. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you coming down. You can draft that letter up. We'll be there. Very good. Thank you.
We'll see you.
Okay, moving on. Town clerk report. Mary.
Town clerk's report for May. From the planning board for applications for a boundary line change, $100. For an ordinance, $25. Dog licensing fees, $25. Games of chance licenses, $20. Highway specifications, $25. Town clerk's fees for vital statistics, $35. Community house donations, $300. Solid waste fees, $1.50. Decals for a fishing license, $1.60. Total check for the general fund, $533.10. For trust and agency and escrow for a boundary line change, $500. Total check for trust and agency, $500. Paid to New York State Department of Ag and Markets for dog surcharges, $10. Paid to New York State Comptroller for games of chance, $30. Paid to Columbia County Solid Waste, $18.50. To New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, $27.40. And to New York State Department of Health for marriage licenses, $45. Total for the month, $1,164.
Thank you, Mary. Motion to accept the clerk's report.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Was that Evan and Ed? Sorry, Evan and Ed on that? Evan and Bob?
Well, I'm not going to fight over it. Take your pick.
I think I heard Ed first.
All right. Mail review. We have.
All right, we have a letter from Department of Agriculture and Markets. The Municipal Shelter Inspection Report for Pine Plains Veterinary Associates was completed on May 1st. The shelter was given an unsatisfactory rating based on the failure of several towns to have the required shelter contract in place. Your town had a contract in place, so you are considered in compliance with Article 7, and you can disregard the unsatisfactory rating. Everything else that they looked at was all fine, but because there were 3 towns that do not have the contracts with them, they got an unsatisfactory.
Very nice, very
Thank you
nice.
to our dog control officer. I said thank you to our dog control officer.
And thank you for Mary for reminding us to fill the contract out every year.
Much more married than me.
They got it on my list.
But you keep up with those things.
Okay, and we, from Pine Plains Central School, they have sent us a press release with the results of the Pine Plains Central School District school budget vote and election. Also, the superintendent of schools, Linda Kameyer, is retiring effective June 30th, 2013. The Pine Plains Board of Education appointed Dr. Martin D. Handler as the district's new superintendent of schools at the April 10th regular meeting, and it's effective July 1st. And I'm thinking that their budget passed. Yes, their budget passed. The proposition for bus purchase looks like it passed. Fred Kaus Jr. and Ann Arendt are the new Board of Education members.
Very good. Thank you.
I have something else here, 2 other things. Notice of a public hearing for the town of Red Hook to be held on June 11th at 7:45 at the town hall on Route 9, and it is regarding a local law to correct inconsistent provisions of the zoning law regarding required votes for actions of the town of Red Hook Zoning Board of Appeals. And I have information which I put out on the table available for the town of Germantown Park for this summer, and also a health and medical summary which needs to be completed. I believe July 1st is the date, the deadline is July 1st for registration, and they must have an updated, the children must have an updated medical form from their doctor that they're current with all their shots. And we have a letter, this letter that came today. Dear Town of Clermont Town Board, on Saturday, May 25th, 2013, my daughter's wedding was held at St. Luke's Church and the Community House, both owned by the Town of Clermont. I had mentioned the event several months in advance to Jimmy Potts and other employees of the Clermont Highway Department. On Tuesday, May 21st, I received a call from Jimmy inquiring what help I might need, etc. With the tent for the reception being delivered the following day, the Highway Department made sure the lawn was mowed. When Saturday arrived, the entire lawn areas had been freshly mowed for both the church and the community house, fresh mulch added to the base of shrubs and trees, and even additional gravel added to the walkway. I would like to thank the entire staff of the Highway Department for not only their extra effort and commitment, but also the pride they take in maintaining Clermont. Sincerely, Desiree M. Weber.
Thank you, and I'll certainly get a copy to the highway department and thank them. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, is that it? You got it? That's it. All right. Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Ed, anything you want?
Well, we're working on doing a grant for the ballpark with Mary Howard. We went down there, we watched the activity incognito to see how it was all working out and what the kids were doing and what the parents were doing, and Mary and I were discussing different options. We talked about possibly, and we'd have to look into it, we noticed that children were going to the adjacent property climbing on this giant boulder. So we had an idea that maybe if we could get a couple boulders to put there somewhere on the property, that the children would give them something to climb on, and it would be free, basically. Being that 8 is being resurfaced, they might be digging something up, and we considered possibly calling Charlie Lent if he ever encounters a nice boulder that we could deliver it. We also considered another free thing, possibly for your very low cost, would be culvert pipes for the children to climb through. And I talked to Jimmy about this. Somewhere out back, he's got some old culvert pipes. He's going to look at them and let us know what he thought about them, the size of them, how clean they were. But it was a thought, just to give the little tots something to do while their older siblings are playing baseball and keep them out of harm's way from that parking lot in the road. So, but of course, you gotta look at insurance and all that other stuff and whatever, so. And we're working on the map with Mary and I are getting copies from the county of the property, and we'll lay it out. And when we get all that going, we'll bring it to the board here, and whatever, we'll discuss it and move forward.
Yeah, good. No, I certainly think, that would probably work fine. I just want to run that by just the insurance company, just to make
Yep.
sure that wouldn't be an issue. But we've been talking about doing some things over there. I know Bob's discussed this a little bit too, about trying to put together like a little bit bigger picture. And he's thinking about, he's going to try and get it together for next meeting possibly, that we could talk about maybe a possible layout, some more, area that we're going to clear, put some gravel down for a few other things to put in there. So, but I think that would be, at least something to get started with. But maybe next meeting we can discuss it and have the insurance information and see what, see where we can go forward with that. No, very good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
one of the things I'd like to put together, and I had started a while back making some notes relating to a 5 to 10 year plan of things that we might like to do, and try to get an estimate of cost for them, and then get a bottom line estimate so that we could maybe start to do a fundraising like they were doing in Germantown.
I like that
And
idea.
also, fundraising and grants combined, and, and look at some of those things.
And then that's exactly what we need, don't we, Mary?
Yeah.
Yes, one of the things I'm finding as I go through the different grants is that 501c3 organizations are at an advantage when it comes to children activities. So if there is a 501c3 that the town has worked with in the past that they may be willing to partner with again, that would be fantastic. And the other thing that has come up as I go through these, support can be built through the social media. We have so many folks that live here but work elsewhere. How do they get in contact with their friends and neighbors? They're doing it Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Tumblr, etc. So if there was a way that either the town or through the 501c3 that we could basically have Clermont Town Park page, have a static page to talk about the park, and then have the social media to build excitement about it, spread the word. So if that's through the website or having somebody else host a page, these are options.
Very good. No, that sounds great.
We actually did have one playground equipment company that did come up and measure out and was supposed to give us a plan. And, I called them a couple times and they never did. I'm going to try and follow up on that a little bit more and see if we can get a couple of them to do that. So,
Because the equipment is available on state contract, various
yeah.
levels, whether it's wood or plastic or metal, that there are different companies that are on contract, so it would be a matter of figuring out what you want and then how you're going to pay for it.
Right. I know Germantown recently we did their park in Germantown, and they spent quite a bit of money on it. They had a fundraiser, they had a lot of money donated from one individual, but they raised, I think it was $65,000 their new playground cost. We're not looking to go to that extent, obviously, but we certainly need to identify a plan of what we think we'd like to get, see what we can raise, and then go from there. Obviously, we're not going to fund this out of the budget, but we certainly will put money towards it. But we need to do some fundraising and grant work and see what we can do to come up with a reasonable amount of activities for the young kids over there. So I think that'd be great, Bob. If you get a chance to maybe put something together next month, and we'll, like I said, with the information on the other insurance information, and see what we can come up with. Excellent. Okay, I know you want to talk about basketball, right? The hoop.
Yeah, Jimmy gave me a catalog, and we've talked about this in the past. That we have the basketball hoop there, and it's mounted on a pole, which is hard steel, so if somebody runs into it, which fortunately they haven't yet, but we have talked about there should probably be some padding around it. And this catalog has one. We can probably get away with the cheapest one because it goes by size of the pole, and I did measure the pole. It's 4.5 inches outside diameter, So that would be about $225 for a padding to go around that pole, and plus some shipping,
What was that, 6 foot tall?
6 foot.
6 foot tall, so that would protect any that even run into it, obviously, so good. I think that's something, you know, that we need to do immediately. I mean, we should have probably done that when we put the hoop up, because, I mean, that is a safety issue, and the last thing I want to do is have some, you know, somebody playing ball over there, run into it and split their head open. So, I'd like to, you know, I'd like for us to consider approving the $225 purchase plus shipping for that now, and I'll just take that out of the parks line, which we haven't used, you know, obviously we budgeted money for the parks, but I think that should be something to do immediately.
Is this designed for outdoor, or is it?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Yeah, it's an exterior.
Now, it's also possible that, you know, Jimmy goes to order it, he may be able to find something even less expensive online, but this looks like a well-made thing to go around that pole.
Yeah, and I think
The
you
other-
mentioned that he looked at, and it was, they were in the ballpark. I think that was one of the less expensive ones, or the least
Okay.
expensive, so.
The other thing that he's been talking about for some time is some netting to keep the balls from running into the brush and kids going in there to get the ball and scraping their legs or arms or something. And that's probably not as an immediate concern as this. And maybe we can add that into the, you know, we'll start looking at a whole plan of what we want to do in fundraise.
Yeah, I would, well, I mean, just my opinion, I think that that's a real safety issue. The netting could be something we could look at, you know, going forward, or, you know, and get some more pricing on that, because I think that was a little bit more money. But I mean, I certainly would, just before we get off of that, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve the purchase of that padding and take it out of the 7110.41 parks line for the $225 plus shipping.
Second.
Any other discussion or issues with that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. With the netting, if you could maybe get some more information on that, maybe when next month, maybe we could try to get a couple different prices and see.
Couldn't we just use a snow fence down by the property line? I mean, that's pretty cheap stuff.
It's possible.
Couple
Is it?
fence posts.
Possible.
I mean,
Put
all
it
those
right
over the
along the edge
netting,
of the
aren't they
woods.
still
Right along the edge
back
of the
there
woods.
somehow?
Well, I mean, if we put it up against the edge of the woods so the ball isn't wood, I mean, you know, that's something,
Pretty cheap.
I mean, it's not very pretty to look at.
Well, maybe we can get one that's not orange.
But, I mean, that's something we could also ask Jimmy what he thinks it is as well. What he,
Yeah, he was talking about putting it up closer to the backboard and being maybe 8 foot high or something.
This ball could go over snow fence really easily.
But not if
And then they
it's 30 feet away.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep it from, we're trying to keep it from rolling into the woods. We
Right.
put it down
Put it way
5
down
feet
by
in
the
front.
woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Kids are
think
gonna
it's
throw it
30.
way higher than 8 feet anyways, because you're gonna have the shots that go,
Yeah.
I mean,
They
5
are.
feet over the backboard.
You have to be backed up away from it, so I'd like to look at that a little bit before we do anything with that. But, we can have another discussion once we look into it a little more. See what other options are. I forget how much farther back the line is over there from the hoop.
I don't think it's 30 feet.
It's
I didn't
not a
measure.
long ways, but it's something we, you know, we can take a look at. Maybe if we all get a chance to think about it and see what you think.
Here,
You got a picture of it?
a picture of it.
And dimensions?
No dimensions.
I know it's close
You're
to.
dragging your
I'm
driving
dragging
there.
it.
Thank
There
you.
go.
Well, that's gonna be a tough picture. I don't know where the hoop is yet, but, yeah, well, we'll
Yeah,
have to.
That's
we'll have
the
to-
problem.
Basketball hoop's not even in yet
Yeah.
on that picture.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't.
it's not in yet, yeah, so we'll have to take a look at that. Thank you.
Okay, I can't get it
Yeah,
all.
well, you know, the satellite images aren't up to date. All right. So we'll bring that back. We'll look at that and see what else we can try to come up with for that issue. What else, Bob? You, anything else you wanna?
Well, that's
It's not
it.
gonna tell us anything.
Okay. Evan, you got anything you wanna, did anybody else?
I think the only thing I have is all the school budgets passed for Red Hook, Farm Plains like we heard, and Germantown. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave up to the audience to decide. Nothing else.
Okay. Well, they all voted for it if it passed. Well, not everybody, but the majority voted for it.
Yeah,
if it passed.
50.
That's right.
5% or whatever.
Actually, Germantown's passed pretty good, I think. It's a pretty good amount.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. But,
I don't think there were any that were close from what I've heard.
well, they brought them in under the cap, which made everybody, well, somewhat happy, but let's say more acceptable, so, all right. Nancy, you have any?
Nothing, except I know when I started working on the emergency plan, I only thought winter. And we've been very lucky this year because it could have been quite bad around here and it wasn't. But it's something that has to be looked at with the plan as well, as it is a year-round plan. You don't think of it that way in this area, but the hurricanes last year and
We had a couple
rains
tornadoes this year.
tornadoes, and pays to be ready year-round.
Absolutely, absolutely. The weather's been unpredictable for sure. Okay. Well, okay, whole business. A lot of this is just recap. We don't really have a lot to go over tonight. Bridge update, I have no new information. I'm still waiting for the reports to come back with payment options and options on how to proceed with the bridge at Bingham's Mill Road. I'll update everybody as soon as I get that information. Data collection, just ongoing. I'm going to leave this stuff on here probably all summer long, just to update, the update is spit it out. The data collection is ongoing. The data collector will be around everybody's parcel. She just submitted invoice for 187 properties, so we're about 20% through the data collection at this point for the updates this year, and it'll be an ongoing process this summer. So just to let everybody know, if she hasn't been to your place, that she will be coming around. You'll see, see a card in the door. If you're not home, she'll leave a card, but she will be visiting every property and updating the records. The bar, we had a very acceptable amount of people show up to the Board of Assessment review this year. It was very nice. We had 4 people actually came and presented their case. And, I think that's just an example of, the assessor doing a good job in my eyes. I mean, he did make some stipulations. He's made some progress on reducing the amount of grievances. But again, 4 people is a very low number. I think that just resembles the fact that we have the property values very close or in line with where they should be, and everybody is assessed equally. So I think I'd like to thank him again for his efforts. I know he's worked very hard on this, and he feels very passionate about keeping everybody as equal as possible and 100%. And I share that passion with him. So we'll continue to do what we have to keep everybody's assessments at 100%.
It's interesting also to note, Ray, that the assessment list did trend down a little bit in Clermont this year, and Red Hook list stayed pretty much flat. So people in the Red Hook School District should get it may not mean that your tax will go down this year, but it won't go up as much as it might have. I'm not sure what Germantown did.
All right, I don't know if they did either, but yeah, no, that's good information. Excellent. That's great. The audit, again, update, the auditor's been playing phone tag, actually asked me to set up a date for this week, Wednesday, to meet with me and Mary to go over the issue, go over the records that she has that he needs to complete the audit. He does have some of the information from our bookkeeper. It's been very tough to coordinate a meeting between him, myself, and Mary, yes, to get together and go over with the records that we have to finish the audit. He's already started, but again, he needs the rest of this information to complete it. And I certainly hoping that we can get together this Wednesday is when the date we set for. We're going to set for 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning to get together with him and go over that information. So hopefully by next month we'll have a good cap on where the audit is, and should be hopefully wrapping it up. It shouldn't take that long after he gets the rest of this information. Mortgage tax, we did receive a mortgage tax. I mentioned last month that it was coming in roughly around, I believe, $18,000. The amount was a hair lower. There's some minor adjustments made, but the amount we received was $17,644.87, which is attached to the deposits gone back. That is about exactly half of what we budgeted, so we're right on the nose of what we figured we were going to get. Hopefully they come up a little bit. We'd like to see a little extra revenue from that, but we are within what we budgeted, so that's good news. New business, I put down here the basketball padding, which we already took care of because I thought that was I thought that was very important for as far as safety issues. So that's been taken care of. The local law hearing, again, we did not get the notices out in time, so we put the local law hearing for the highway specs off until next month, which will be at 6:45 on July 1st. So we'll hold that hearing at that point for that update. The air conditioner, we received a grant from the court systems for a number of things. Emergency lighting, which has been completed, shredder, which is a minor thing, but that's been purchased, and the air conditioner, which I purchased this past month, which is in the invoices for the court system. So we've got 3 out of the 4 things purchased through the grant. The fourth and last item is the copier. The court clerk, Lee, is getting some prices together on the copier that they feel that they need, and he's going to present that to us, and hopefully we'll have it for next month to decide on buying a new copier for them. Again, we'll have approximately $2,000 left out of that grant to put towards it, so depending on what he brings the price pack at, maybe pay for it, maybe we'll have to put in a little money, but it's a considerable amount to put towards a new copier. So
Do we own the copier that
we do.
we do?
We do. Yeah,
And the one in the back?
correct. We own both of them.
Okay. So are we getting rid of one or?
Believe it or not, this copy in the back is, it's having some issues. It's been
I was
struggling
gonna
for a little
say,
while.
that's been struggling, and if you're gonna get rid of one.
That copier is in better shape. We probably, obviously, will cycle it back over
Right,
to
back
us.
to
They'll get the
here.
new one, since it's a
Right.
court grant, they get the new one, cycle that one back over to here, and then this one, depending on what it's worth, if we can use it somewhere else in town, if Jimmy can use it, if not, maybe possibly sell it, but we'll certainly be using it, yes. So,
Or trade it in? don't they?
trade it in, I don't know, it's something we could look at, absolutely.
Ask them, it's okay.
Absolutely, it doesn't really, if we have no other use for it, would be a good way to get rid of it, sure. And get something for it, absolutely. Okay, supervisor report, just update everybody a little bit on what's going on that I'm aware of in the county. A lot of this is the same information I bring up every month, but just to recap, the Certified Home Health Agency, the CHA, is being considered for selling it. They're now down to serving 6 people, was the last update we had last month, which continues to drop. I don't know how it could get any lower, obviously, but we certainly need to act on this. We've lost over $1 million, lost over $250,000 in the first quarter on this program. We're on track to lose well over $1 million this year, and the director of the health agency came in last month at the meeting and presented the information that there really is no way to reduce the operations of this program because it's mostly cost-driven from salaries and it's union wages. So there's negotiations going on with the union to decide how to go about this because they're disputing the numbers that we're using, saying that we're not losing that much money. We have the numbers. We had an independent contractor come in and do a study on this last year. We have the documented information. So right now it's in the hands of the negotiation team and the unions. We're having a special meeting on the health committee next week. Actually this week, that's to discuss Pinehaven, which I'll get to in a minute, but we should have an answer on this by our next week's meeting. So hopefully we'll have a definitive answer on where we're going with this program and what we're going to do as far as moving forward for next month. I'll let everybody know. The courthouse project was in the papers again. We had a supervisor's tour. Anybody that in the county supervisor would like to tour the courthouse. It's the second time I've been there and looked through it, but this is the first time I've actually went through the entire project. It's very interesting. They're moving along on this project. We just approved the heating upgrade, which is in the tune of about $500,000 and change for a new heating system. Something that had to be done, and after you look through the building, you realize that it has to be done now while it's vacant. There's absolutely no way possible to put that place back together, have the courts start back up, and have a problem a couple years down the line and tear it back apart. It just makes no sense whatsoever. So that upgrade is it's been approved and it's going to be completed as part of this project. Originally, we budgeted $10 million for this project back several years ago, and that's what we bonded as far as the total amount of project. When we bid this out a couple years ago and the bids came back this past year before we settled on a number, they came in considerably less than what we anticipated, around, I think it was 7.4, 7.6 million. So, you know, we have plenty of money budgeted, bonded, not budgeted, bonded to cover this project, even with the upgrades that we're making. And, you know, we're still very close, only a little bit over what we originally anticipated as the final number with the contingencies. So the fact that we just approved $500,000 more does not put us over the project cost. It just adds to the amount that we already secured for bonding. So anything that needs to be done on this project, we plan on doing, and it is within the amount we can bond for it. So I think it's very important to do what needs to be done. Heating is one of the main things in the building, obviously, and it's something you can't fix after it's inhabited again. So it has to be done now, and it's going to be done. I guess that's it. It's moving along fine. They predict to be on schedule. We've had a lot of asbestos problems. Every time they seem to touch anything in this building, it contains asbestos. It's a great old building, you know. Everybody knows how that goes, but it's in places they have had no clue it would be in. So the asbestos abatement contract has doubled the original cost, I believe, but it's just one of those things that you just cannot control. And you know, I hope we have the majority behind us, but again, moving forward, you know, it's one of those unknowns. So we'll have to address it if it comes up. But we're certainly, they predict to be about on schedule with this project still, maybe 3 or 4 weeks behind, which on a project like this is great. I mean, that's fine. They had to hold up a little bit for the asbestos, but it's moving along fine. They expect to be in by November or December of this year. So it continues. Pine Haven, a lot of news on Pine Haven. There's been a lot of correspondence, a lot of articles written about if we proceed with Pine Haven, or if we don't proceed with Pine Haven, is the fees that we're paying the architect reimbursable? That's the big question. That's what a lot of supervisors are hinging on their opinions on and their decisions on. We've been told different things. We've had Don Evans, the head of the, what is he now? I forget his title. But we've had a professional come down, take a look at this, state that if we proceed with the architectural plans for the new home, it's a $1.2 million contract, that if we decide that we're not going to go through the project, that the amount is reimbursable, up to within $16,000 of the cost of the project, or the 1.2 million. So there's a lot of discussion on, is that correct? Is it not correct? A lot of people are asking, you know, is Pine Haven really losing $1 million a year or $2 million a year? Are they breaking even? It depends on who you talk to, what answer you get. I mean, anybody that supports the Pine Haven project, which I do, looks at the reimbursements from the IGT money, which is money that comes from the state. If you factor that into the operating costs, Pine Haven is breaking even, or making a few dollars. If you take that out, which if the reimbursements do stop, is a possibility, Pine Haven is losing $1.8 million a year. So, you know, things can be done as far as the operations of the home to reduce the costs if we do lose the reimbursements. But in my eyes, right now, the reimbursements are there. Again, who knows? It's a crystal ball. Are they going to continue? I think they're guaranteed to 2016. But the state could change at any time, but they've used the same program for the past 30 years. There's no reason why they would change it at this point. So I guess to sum it up, we're waiting for more information. We passed a resolution on approving the architectural fees to design the new building, which is $1.2 million, contingent on a letter from the State Health Department saying if we did abandon the project, it is reimbursable. So that's where we stand now. I'm still waiting, and I'm part of that committee, so I haven't heard yet, and I think that's what we're going to hear tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, at a special meeting. We're going to hear the results of that, if we have the letter back or not. I haven't heard, but I'm assuming that's what tomorrow night's meeting's about. And we'll know as far as going forward. There is some supervisors that just flat out say we shouldn't be in the nursing home business. That's their opinion. You know, I certainly don't share that opinion. I think it's one of the few things that the county can do for the residents to continue, you know, a home that's there for them at a reasonable cost. So that's my opinion, and I've supported it all along and will continue to support it. But I will let everybody know how this turns out. You'll probably read in the paper before next month, but certainly I'll have whatever information I can bring up.
Right, those reimbursements that you talked about that have been there for 30 years and they are good through 2016, is that to do with Medicaid, or is it?
Yes, Medicaid reimbursement, part of it's for Medicaid reimbursement, and it comes back, they call it IGT, and I forget what the acronym stands for, but that is what they use to factor in per bed, per, the reimbursement
Okay, but
rates.
if you don't have Pine Haven, you still have Medicaid people that will need nursing home care, which the county will be responsible for. So if you have them someplace else and you don't get the reimbursement, you still got the same problem
Still paying
that
that.
you'd have, and probably more so than you'd have if you had the county home.
There's a lot of factors to figure into
Right.
it, yes. You've been talking hard, haven't you?
I just have another question on it. How many people are employed at Pine Haven?
I should know that, but I don't have that on top of my head. I don't
Just
know.
curious.
It's quite a few. It's like, I'm gonna throw a number out there, don't quote me, that's 150,
I mean, if you closed it, there's
Is that close?
150 jobs going in
150?
the county as well.
150, yeah. So, and part of this goes back to, and again, and I don't want to put a lot of conversation to this part of it, but part of this comes back to some of the supervisors, which I share part of this belief, we need to reduce the size of the county government. And they're looking at this as, wow, we could knock 150 jobs off of union payrolls, the pension plans, if we sold it and got out of the nursing home business. That to me is an easy way to take the easy way out. I mean, there's other decisions that can be made, there's other costs that can be made to reduce the operation costs and reduce jobs in the county.
Yes.
That is a way, some of them are looking at an easy
You
way to
could
accomplish
cut a
that.
lot fewer administrative positions and make up the same money.
Correct. So, but that's one theory that's out there. So there's a lot of
Lots of sides
information
to
balled
take.
up into this. So, which leads me into my other conversation here about vacancies. Recently, this past month, at every committee meeting that I'm on, I started voting against filling any vacant position that came up to the board. I've done this because I feel that I have to take a position at some point, because I've been asking since last budget season that we have a committee put together to investigate every vacant position that comes available, because 3 months ago we were all pulled aside saying, listen, the county's going to be in rough shape this year, we need to reduce the size of government, we need to reduce the amount in our budgets, we need to cut back through attrition on the amount of jobs that are filled. Not one job has been denied in the past 3 months. So I keep asking for a committee to be put in place, a vacancy committee, so every vacant position that becomes available has to go to this committee, be looked at, researched, and really find out if that position is needed. Can it be consolidated? Could you put 3 positions together and only have 2 people and give them raises? All ways to save money, reduce pension costs, and not a one has been done yet. So I started voting against every single vacant position that comes in front of me. Now, finally, last week I was told that we're putting a vacancy committee together. It's going to be called the Point One Committee, and I'm going to be on it, and 5 other supervisors to start looking at this. And I think this is crucial because, if we don't want to lay people off, which we don't want to lay people off, the only way to reduce the size of government and costs is through attrition. So every vacant position that comes available, we really have to study and see, can we fill it? Do we need to fill it? Can we get away without it? So that's starting this coming month, as a matter of fact, that we'll be starting to investigate all those positions. So I think that's a great step forward. Again, like I said, we need to start cutting costs somewhere, and that's a start. So I'm glad to serve on that committee. Cell phone. We had a local law that was coming in front of the board last month for a cell phone tax. It's an additional tax to help cover the cost of the rising costs of 911 center to keep up with the emergency response systems, the upgraded software, and the costs that go along with that. This got tabled by the board, which I voted against tabling it because, people characterize this as, oh, it's another tax. It's another tax. I'm not going to vote for another tax. The fact of the matter is, the budget does not have enough money to cover the upgrades that are needed. So if this tax is not approved, then it's coming out of the entire county taxpayers' dollars. So it may be a new tax called a cell phone tax, but if you don't put a cell phone tax on, it's going to be raised through our other money, through our county taxes. So the way I look at it is, I would rather authorize what I consider a user tax on a cell phone for the people that use it, rather than spread the costs out throughout the entire county for people that don't even have cell phones, seniors, everybody else that doesn't want to pay any extra money, I think it should be a user tax, and I call it a user tax. So they tabled this because there's a lot of people that don't want to vote for a new tax, and I understand that. I'm not one to vote for new taxes either, but the fact of the matter is it's coming out of somebody's pocket. I'd rather be out of the people that use it and pay on cell phones, and it's amounted, I think, 30 cents a cell phone. So I'd rather have the cell phone users have to pay for it. You know, you have illegal immigrants, you have renters, all these people using cell phones, and why does the landowners throughout the county have to pay for
I
it?
was gonna say, you're paying it on your, like a home phone.
Well, they have it on a home phone as
But a lot
well.
of
There's a
people don't
different
have a
tax on a
home
home phone, they've got rid of them, that's part of the problem, because the revenues
Because
have
people
dropped,
don't
because
have
everybody's
those
canceled their home
phones
phones. So this money is short in budget, no matter how you look at it, we're gonna have to come up with this money.
So if you
I feel more
basically-
comfortable asking the people that use the phones to pay the tax, rather than the entire county, which some people don't even have.
So if you have both a house phone and a cell phone, you would pay twice.
Yes.
But if you only have one, you only
And if
pay
you have
once.
4 cell phones, you're gonna pay 4 times. That's the thing, that's
4
what some of them
different
are
numbers,
arguing. If you have
yeah,
4
that's
different
true.
numbers, you're gonna pay
Yes,
4
you
different
are.
taxes. You're gonna pay $1.20.
So if you have 4 children who all have their own cell phones.
You're gonna pay $4.20.
Okay.
But again, the way I look at it, maybe I look at it differently, but I don't know how everybody else feels, but I feel that I don't think everybody that owns a property needs to pay for everybody else's cell phones. I think it should be user tax, and that's the way I look at it, as a user tax. So I'm gonna support that when it comes back up. If it comes back up, I don't know, but that's where I feel on the issue, and I stand on the issue, and I think the way I look at it is I just think the property owners pay for everything else in this county. I think a cell phone is not one of them they have to pay for. So.
I agree.
Public Works, just to update everybody real quick, Public Works County Road 8, I think Ed actually mentioned this, that they're gonna be working on County Road 8 here. They already started doing the culverts from, I believe, Hillendale Road up into Germantown. They're gonna redo that section of road, which, or I may even come far this way, but wherever they left off when they did County Route 8 several years ago, they did part of it. They're gonna do the rest of that right on into Germantown. So over the next few months, it's probably gonna be a little slow traffic going through there when they start paving that, but I don't know when the schedule is, but it is gonna happen this summer. And it's much needed, so I'm glad to see them doing that section of road, because that is a heavily traveled road.
They've got that road pretty well marked up now, looks like they're getting ready to do it soon.
I think they've done all the culverts, so they're probably gonna get ready to work on it. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know the schedule exactly on that, but it will be happening, and I'm glad to see it, because like I said, a lot of people from all over use that road. It is the main road going into Germantown now. Well, it's still
Yeah,
closed.
my road's closed.
That's about it on the county level. I just want to mention June 8th, which is this coming Saturday, is the Clermont State Barbecue. Doesn't do much good at this point, but unless you have tickets or you want to buy tickets like now, tonight, it's probably too late. They've probably stopped the sales after this evening. You know, if anybody wants to go, they could let me know as soon as the meeting's over, which would only be people that are here. I can still get you some tickets, but and I want to just, a little in advance, just to make sure everybody puts on the calendar, August 10th, the Clermont Town Barbecue will be here with the tractor pulls, which will go on this year again. And we'll be missing, obviously, Charlie Larson, who's taking care of that. And was the MC of that for many years and coordinated that and really got that thing off off and running. But we certainly miss him for that. But we'll have that going on the August 10th, and I forget when they open the grounds, but we'll have an update next month. We're planning in advance on that.
9
So
o'clock, I believe. And
Nine.
I believe Larry Sokol might be announcing the tractor pull.
he probably will be. I think he'd helped last
I
year.
believe so, yeah.
Well, again, we'll have all the details next month for that to update everybody on. Other than that, I guess we're all set. Motion to pay abstracts.
I move that we pay general abstract number 6, vouchers number 125 through 158, in the amount of $9,563.89.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I move that we pay highway abstract number 6, vouchers 50 through 58, in a total of $57,830.91.
Come on, you only have 8 abstracts here. 50.
Second.
Just so everybody knows, because that's a large number, that covers the blacktopping for Quail Lane and, LeGrand, I think was the other one. We did a lot of blacktopping, Jimmy did a lot of blacktopping this month and used up the CHIPS, most of the CHIPS money, so that's just a quick explanation of that large amount. Can we get a second on that?
I do.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, public comment, public communications, comments to the board. Cassidy?
I'd like to commend Councilwoman Nancy Moore for her no vote on Resolution 47 and 48 at the Maytown Board meeting. Contrary to what Mrs. Eddie Kale seemed to think, Councilwoman Moore's vote did not represent her agreement with the SAFE Act. Instead, she voted to represent her view that these resolutions accomplish little in the way of substantive change, and that opposition to the SAFE Act and messages of necessity would be better served by individuals approaching their state legislators directly. Excuse me. Mrs. Kale castigated Councilwoman Moore simply for having a view she thought was opposite of her own. Call me naive, but I simply cannot grasp why Mrs. Kale felt so threatened by an opinion that she thought differed from her own. Mrs. Kale's extraordinarily narrow interpretation of historical events and constitutionality did nothing to support her argument, except to lend credence to her lack of knowledge of historical context. I personally think Mrs. Kale's one theory of causality insulted all the victims of the Holocaust, the Chinese Civil War, the Stalin regime in Russia. Despite what Mrs. Kale may think, God does not just reside on one side of the political spectrum. Mrs. Kale's comments were rude, disparaging, and bordering on the assaultive as she indignantly threw the Constitution of the United States at Councilwoman Moore. It would have been refreshing if even one board member had spoken out in support of Councilwoman Moore's right and duty to vote as she thought best. Councilwoman Moore is to be congratulated for doing her elected duty and commended for the respectful way she politely listened to Mrs. Eddie Kale's harangue. Mrs. Eddie Kale, on the other hand, acted as petulantly as the baby she brought with her, and her invective did little to foster respect, collaboration, and compromise.
Thank you for your comment. Everybody, obviously, for the first time, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and thank you for your comment. Okay. Any other comments, questions? That's all right.
Hello. I was lucky enough to have my daughter's wedding here on the property this past weekend. And in doing so, it gave me a very hands-on view of the church and the community house. And this is a picture of, as you walk into the community house, the little room on the right. This is a picture of the before, how it's used and what I did with it.
Oh, beautiful.
And I'd like to offer my volunteer service for 1 year to oversee and promote the rental of the church and the community house for weddings, baptisms, Girl Scout meetings, whatever. So I think it's a great asset for the community that's not being used, not bringing any community feel to the area, not bringing in revenue. And I'd like to, of course, keep it right in line with its, historical, integrity. But there's some things that need a little upgrade and touch-ups and so forth. And those are things that aren't noticed because it's not used often enough. When it's not used often enough by the same people to see what needs to be done. And there's some very minor things that need to be done that would make a big difference and make it more appealing for people to rent it, and starting with just knowing that it's available.
Excellent.
Doesn't look like the same room, does it?
Looks great. I saw the picture, that looks excellent.
Mhm.
Very nice. So now you're gonna be interior decorator too?
As long as you don't come to my house.
Event
For at least a
Event
month.
coordinator, okay, event
Event
coordinator.
coordinator, there we go.
All right.
Wedding planner.
Oh, yeah, well.
Very nice.
Let's be a
Well,
wedding survivor first.
Yeah, that's the first job.
I don't know if there's something more we could do even with the website to promote it. I don't know, Evan, if maybe we can get together,
Put up stuff,
maybe
yeah.
put some pictures together, some pictures on the internet, get something out there that could possibly promote this a little more.
You know, what we did was we had a tent that was connected to the back of the building, so we had use of the insides for restrooms, but our event was actually held in the tent, so it wasn't a wear and tear issue so much, but an extension of the community house. So those are things to, you know, to promote as well, that people know that there's more than one
More
way to
than
do it.
just the building rooms.
That it's not limited just by that space, but it, you know, provides a lot more opportunity.
So if we can get you to help us out for a year, we could get you maybe to wrap something around the church and that together and promote the whole area, right? All right.
And then I understand there's 20 acres that need something done with, so it's another whole project.
Very nice.
I just got an email today about somebody that does outside movies. It's a cost of $300, but they provide popcorn and, yeah, that'd be a fun thing to do once in a while.
It would make a nice
Wonderful.
family night.
On the back.
Yeah, it would. I mean, there's, you know, in a town where there's kids are split up between three school districts, it's,
You could do it.
there's no sense of community here for
On the
kids.
back stop.
If we have bleachers.
Everybody bring their own chair and take home their own mess, you know, it'd be a nice thing to do.
Very good. Well, we'll, maybe, I don't know, how do we go about that? Maybe you and Evan can get together, try to put some pictures together, we can get posted on the internet, start with that.
And then, you know, if I can promote it, you know, whether avenues online, that would be, it don't cost anything. I mean, there's
Right.
certainly, you know, there's Craigslist, there's Facebook, there's a lot of different opportunities to promote things like that. And there's certainly a shortage of places to rent. I mean, it's, you know, you have the option of restaurants, a firehouse. You know, people would sometimes want something with a little bit more decor than what firehouse is. I mean, we're lucky the one in Clermont is so nice and has such a great kitchen. But it's not always,
But it doesn't look as nice as what you did in there. Look at that.
No, it does
Very
not.
nice. No, it looks very nice, and
This is
we'd
beautiful.
be glad to have you help out. I mean, that'd be great to try to promote that.
you know, and it's all done, you know, it's all done with yard sales and free cycle and
Mhm.
people's treasures that are sitting on the side of the road. I mean, it's not anything that costs money to do that. Unless you'd like to have it done at your home, and then I can arrange for my space.
No, that's good, that's good. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, any other questions, comments? Not? Nope, Bob?
Yeah, I'd like to make one comment. There have been instances in the 4 years that I've been on the board where people have said things relating to people on the board or people in the audience. I don't particularly like those kinds of things. I don't like attacks on people. I think this board has gotten along very well together, even though we've disagreed on some issues. And, you know, I've refrained from speaking out in the past because I think if somebody has a public comment, that, again, as you mentioned, Ray, that's their opinion, and I don't feel that we need to come to the rescue of another board member. I was happy to see, you know, Dr. Davis make a comment about Nancy's right to her views. And Nancy and I've actually had a little discussion about that personally, and agreed that she and I would probably never agree on national platforms for Republicans or Democrats, you know, opposite
We all disagree and
parties,
disagree.
but we don't deal with those issues for the most part on this board. And we do get along well, and we try to do what's right. Sometimes we get questioned. And we may find out that it wasn't right what we did, but then again, we may find out it was right.
Right.
And in any case, we have and will try to continue to do what's best for Clermont. And I think we all agree on that.
That we do agree.
Absolutely. You wrapped it up very nicely, Bob. Thank you. Thank you for making that comment. If there's no other comments at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.